Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing an Armed Dragon Thunder deck profile. So I'm really excited with this one because this deck is the deck that I have been anticipating for so long since it was announced to come out of Blazing Vortex, and the deck that I am super excited to do live duels of, to do all sorts of crazy stuff on the channel with, and it is such a good, fun deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on the screen, become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below. We have all sorts of awesome words you guys like, getting your name scripts for every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing a single copy of Armed Dragon Level 10 Thunder. So this card is absolutely crazy in what it does, and it is a super good card, because what this card does is if this card is special summoned by the effect of an Armed Dragon monster, this card gains the following effects based on its attack. If it has 10 attack, the control of this card cannot switch. If it has 1 attack, it can't. It's called Armed Dragon Level 10. If it has 100 attack, it can't be destroyed by battle. If it has 1,000 attack, you can once per turn, quick effect, send a card from your hand to the graveyard and then target one other card on the field, and if you do, destroy it. And if it has 10,000 attack, you can destroy all other cards on the field, which is an insanely good card. Just to be able to pop everything to get it to, if you get it to 10,000 attack, it's an instant OTK, and it is such a good card. I absolutely love the art of this card, and it's fantastic for the deck. We then play 2 copies of Armed Dragon Level 10 White. Armed Dragon Level 10 White is really good just as a 2-of. I probably wouldn't play it at any more than 2, but it's very good as a 2-of because it can't be normal summon or set. It must be special summoned by its own effects, and you can banish Armed Dragon monsters from your field or graveyard whose total level equal 10, and then you get special summon this card from your hand, and then you get to add a white veil from your deck to your hand. You only use the effect of this card once per turn, and then also you don't take any effect damage at the start of the damage step. If this card attacks, you can destroy a card on the field as well, which is a really good effect. Just to be able to pop cards and be able to instantly destroy stuff on the field is just really, really, really nice. We then play 3 copies of Armed Dragon Thunder Level 7. So this card is bonkers. This card is really, really, really good in what it does, because it has the ability that this card's name becomes Armed Dragon Level 7 while in the field or in the grave, and you'll use the following effect of this card once per turn. You can send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then send this card from the field to the graveyard, and if you do, you can special summon 1 level 10 or lower Armed Dragon monster to your side of the field, which is a really good effect to be able to just special summon it to your side of the field. And if you special summon 1 level 10 or lower Armed Dragon monster from your hand or deck, and if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a Dragon monster's effect, you get to add any Armed Dragon card from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect just to be able to replace itself as well. We then play 3 copies of Armed Dragon Thunder Level 5. Level 5 is really good too, because it becomes Armed Dragon Level 5 while on the field or in the grave. You only use each of the following effects this card once per turn, and also it's got a really awesome effect that once per turn you can send another monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then you send this card from your field to the graveyard, and if you do, you special summon a level 7 or lower Armed Dragon monster from your hand or deck. And if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a Dragon monster's effect, you get to add 1 level 5 or higher Wind Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect just to grab you any of your Wind Dragon monsters that are level 5 or higher. Can even grab Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms, which is a really, really good card. We then play 3 copies of Armed Dragon Thunder Level 3. Now this is the card that you always want to see, either this or you want to see the Armed Dragon Flash in your opening hand, because this card is extremely good and extremely important to the archetype, because what it does is it becomes Armed Dragon Level 3 while in the field or in the graveyard, and you only use the following effects of this card once per turn. And also it has the ability that you can send 1 face-up monster, you can send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard to send this face-up card to your graveyard, and if you do, special summon a level 5 or lower Armed Dragon monster from your hand or deck, and if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a Dragon monster's effect, you get to draw a card, which is pretty good. And the way that they basically work is you're going to be sending 1 to grave to be able to get its effect off, and then once you get its effect off, you're going to be able to special summon the next one up, and then if I had level 3 on my field and I had level 7 in the hand, I could then normal summon level 3, send the level 7 from hand, special summon level 5, and then use the effect of my level 7 to add an Armed Dragon card from my deck to my hand, which is a really good effect to be able to kind of get me a search, and a draw, which is really, really nice. We then play a single copy of Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. Tempest is ridiculous in this deck because what it does is basically gives you a free body on board, and it's just a really good card overall because it's searchable in the deck and works with another one of the cards that we play in the deck, which is 2 copies of Lightning, Dragon Ruler of Drafts. Drafts, I didn't think I would ever be able to play in any deck ever again, but in this deck, it's really good because you can discard this card and another Dragon or Wind monster to special summon a Tempest from your deck, but it can't attack this turn. But that's really good because you're sending them to the graveyard to get their effects off because they're being sent to the graveyard to activate a Dragon monster's effect. So this card actually activates from 3 to 7's effects, all of their effects off, which is really nice to get you a draw, a search, or a search, which is really, really good. We then play my personal tech in the deck, which is 3 copies of Armed Artillery Catapult Turtle. Artillery Catapult Turtle is really good because you only really have 6 normal summons in the entire deck, which is the 3 copies of level 3, and then you have the 3 Artillery Catapult Turtle, because if you have the Artillery Catapult Turtle, you contribute 1 monster to special summon a level 5 Dragon monster from your deck, which is always going to be your Armed Dragon level 5, which kind of skips and bypasses your effect of your Armed Dragon level 3 and goes straight to 5, which can get you 7 and then finally 10, which is a really good effect just to be able to go from 5, 7, 10 instead of 3, 5, 7, 10, which is still pretty good anyways. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. The Ash is really helpful just to be able to stop your opponent from doing all sorts of shenanigans. And then we play 3 copies of Gamma and a single copy of Driver, because basically these are really helpful in stopping your opponent from doing all sorts of stuff against you while you're trying to go off with your plays. It's just an overall really, really good effect to be able to just negate stuff, and be able to do this on your own turn is really nice because you're essentially going to stop them for a hand trap, and then you're also going to rip a card out of their hand with your Omega, which is really nice as well. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is ridiculously good in this deck because you can bring back stuff like your Armed Dragon level 7, which then you can use its effect to be able to go off and go get it off the field to go into level 10, which is super nice. And it can just bring back a lot of your really important cards in the deck. 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave just stops your opponent from all sorts of hand trap stuff. So this card's really, really good at just stopping your opponent from hitting you with a hand trap. We play a single copy of White Veil. White Veil is kind of nice. I personally don't usually activate it all that much because if it leaves the field, then you take 3,000 damage. But it's a pretty neat card because while the equipped monster battles, your opponents cannot activate any spells or traps until the end of the damage tab. And then when an attack is declared involving the equipped monster and a face-up monster, you can or any monster, face-up spells and traps your opponent control have their effects negated until the end of the damage step, even if this card leaves the field. And while the equipped monster destroys a monster by battle, you destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls, which is pretty good. I use it if I'm playing against a back row heavy deck. That's the only time I really activate it, but it's extremely easy to search off your copy of your Armed Dragon White, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Armed Dragon Blitz. Blitz is really good. I've thought about bumping Blitz up to 2, but I just feel like 1 is fine for now. But what it basically does is it lets you target an Armed Dragon monster you control, and you take a monster with the same name from your deck or graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions, but it can't attack directly, and you can only activate 1 of this card per turn. So it's a really good 1-of. I don't really feel like you need any more than 1 of it. It works really well for me with like a copy of Armed Dragon White, because then you get double of those on the field and you can make a really good XZ play. We then play 2 copies of Armed Dragon Lightning. Armed Dragon Lightning is really good in this deck because if an Armed Dragon monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card to your graveyard instead, and then you can target 1 Armed Dragon monster you control, then activate 1 of the following effects. It either gains attack equal to its level times 100, even if this card leaves the field, or you get to add a Armed Dragon monster with equal or lower level than it to your hand from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good just to be able to get you a search out of the graveyard and be able to put cards in your hand. And then we play 3 copies of Armed Dragon Flash. Armed Dragon Flash is really good because it's a great starter in the deck, because you pretty much have 3 really good starters in the deck where you have your copies of level 3, and then you have your Artillery Catapult Turtle, and then you have Flash as well. So Flash, what it does is it lets you special summon an Armed Dragon level 3 from the deck in defense position, and you can only activate 1 of it per turn. It's basically quick launch if you guys have played Rockets, but it's basically quick launch. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance, I think, is the better card in this deck because you're going to need to get a little bit of card advantage in this deck, and being able to activate this card to be able to draw 2 right off the bat is really nice, to be able to just grab cards out of the deck to give you a little bit more advantage. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Dragon's Bind. So Dragon's Bind is an insanely good card in this deck, and I highly recommend that if you guys are playing Armed Dragon, you play this card, because this card is ridiculous. You get to activate this card by targeting one face-up dragon monster you control with 2,500 or less attack and defense, and neither player can special summon monsters with attack less than or equal to the original attack of that monster, and then when this card leaves the field, or when that monster leaves the field, you destroy this card. This card is really good at just giving you advantage where your opponent's not going to be able to special summon stuff, and it just can lock your opponent down. So that's why I play this card as a 3-of in the deck. It's really good. You can usually use it very frequently in this deck, and if you draw into it and you go first in this deck, you're going to be able to establish a really good board with this card and any of your other cards that you particularly need. Usually I use it with level 5 because sometimes my opponent will hand trap me and I'll have to summon out level 5, and then I'll use this with that, and then my opponent can't special summon usually. So this card is really, really good as a 3-of. So that's it for the traps, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. I will mention, you guys, though, if you decide not to play this, you can play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence instead, if you want to play 3 Infinite Impermanence instead of the copies of Dragon's Bind. So that's it for the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing double copies of Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This is the card that I usually go into the most in the extra deck, to be able to end on a board where I can spend something off the field and then special summon a dragon from my deck, which is really helpful just to get me an additional dragon out of the deck. We play a single copy of Access Code Talker. You don't have to play this. You can play Borreload, Borrelsaur, whatever you want to play. It's just really helpful to have the copy of Access Code to give you additional pops. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn because it spins stuff, Phoenix because it pops spells and traps, Cerberus because it pops monsters, and then I play a single copy of Twin Triangle Dragon. So Twin Triangle Dragon is a really weird, cool tech in this deck. So basically what this card does is, when this card is link summoned, you get to pay 500 and then target 1 level 5 or higher dragon in your graveyard and special summon to a zone this card points to, but its effects, or it can attack, and also its effects are negated. But that's totally fine because you can link climb with it, which is really nice. We then play 2 copies of Juggernaut Libby. Juggernaut Libby is really good because this card is really, really good because it just helps you OTK with Armed Dragon White, because you can overlay 2 of your Armed Dragon Whites into one of your other train cards and then basically OTK your opponent. You play a number 81. 81 is really good too because it helps you just get a monster that's immune to everything. And then I play 3 copies of Rail Cannon Gustav Max because it does help out a lot to be able to go for Gustav Max and burn your opponent for 2,000. I play a single copy of Psyframe Lord Omega because Omega is just really good at ripping cards out of your opponent's hand. The only time you're going to summon this is if you do, for some reason, gamma your opponent during your turn, which happens quite frequently, in my opinion. You're going to go into this card, and then I play a single copy of Draco Berserkers of the Tenyi. The only thing I thought about changing the Draco Berserkers out for is maybe another Twin Triangle, because Twin Triangle is pretty good in this deck, but I haven't gotten around to it yet because I'm just play testing out the deck a little bit and to get feeling it out. The other thing I thought about putting in the deck too is putting in one of the original Armed Dragon level 10s. I thought about changing out maybe the Monster Reborn for it, but that's the only real changes that I've thought about making to this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. Expect to see a lot of content covering this deck because it is a fun deck to play with, and it is super, super cool to play with armed dragons as DarkArmedDuelist. It just doesn't get much better than that. The only way that they could have made this better is making a Dark Armed Dragon archetype, but this is about as close as I'm going to get for right now, so I'm going to play this probably all the time now. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.